All right, let's talk about some absolutely breaking news. Within the last 24 hours, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled in favor of Trump 6-3 regarding that Los Angeles immigration enforcement case, where he can basically now conduct sweeping immigration enforcement. So let's talk about a little bit of this as well as some responses and other key takeaways. Now, the actual ruling here states that the Immigration and Nationality Act authorizes immigration officers to, quote, interrogate any alien or person believed to be an alien as to his right to be or to remain in the United States, end quote. And so further, it says immigration officers may briefly detain an individual for questioning if they have a reasonable suspicion based on specific articulable facts that the person being questioned is an alien illegally in the United States. So basically, ICE agents, as well as others of law enforcement, can temporarily detain people, or they can ask them for their status if they have a reasonable suspicion of thinking they are in here illegally. And so with this ruling, DHS can factor in location, Spanish speaking, or even other language speaking, physical appearance, line of work, and more in their deportation sweeps. But again, all of this with a reasonable cause. And again, this comes after a time, as I've reported or talked about earlier this week, about South Korea having major ongoing negotiation. And I believe right now they've already negotiated the return of the major breaking news and the viral thing. Even Korea here is talking about that for Georgia and just all of the 300, 400 Koreans that were detained there. And so a lot of news is coming out trying to pick and point and get into the details of things. But you got to remember, the ICE from an outside optics perspective, they're targeting people. And of course, this is illegal, and it's good from the perspective of you have to clean house from the U.S. You have to be here legally. Everything from in terms of law has to be to the T. If you're going to try to do certain things and go roundabout, you have to take proper protocols. If it's going to take long, then all of that negotiation must take place, such as what's happening with South Korea. And so they're going to improve the processes to expedite visas, to make sure that all of the mistakes or all of the little nitty-gritty stuff that's happening along the way that's an issue, they're going to sort that out. And it's a work in progress in some sense. That's what's happening on the outside, and people are looking at it as, oh, this is racist, this is this and that, and they're bringing all these unnecessary things out into the open. And yes, it's okay to talk about that, but again, that's from an outside perspective. What I've said before is that all of that pales in comparison to the evil that they're trying to fight within, which is that they're using other countries, for example, like Venezuela and many others, are emptying prisons, or even China, the Middle East, Europe. These guys, they're bringing in people from, I don't know, male age military men to position them here for internal riots or the voting thing, right? All of the illegal things that are happening with regards to elections and other things, like weaponizing these immigrants to do riots or to go and do all these crazy things to cause instability. The global order, the new world order, if you want to call it, the deep state, they're allowing these people to come in to cause instability and then to wreak havoc from within, to divide the nation. And people are not going to really believe that because it sounds so conspiracy-esque. There's a deeper, sinister thing happening that's being done top down from other outside foreign agents that's bigger than the little surface level stuff that we're talking about and we're dealing with. And so if Trump and many others come out and they say these things, it's going to be a very difficult concept to grasp and to digest and to really believe. So let's look at a couple of things here. Now, this was a press conference within the last couple of hours. I watched it live in its entirety. I want to focus on one specific question that somebody asked and her response, the press secretary, Caroline Levitt's response to it. So let's listen.
Go ahead. Thank you. After the Supreme Court ruling yesterday on the ICE raids in Los Angeles, some particularly non-white U.S. citizens are saying that they're going to begin carrying their U.S. passports with them at all times. What is the White House's response to Americans who are concerned about being swept up, as others have been already, in these enforcement actions?
They should not be concerned because this administration is focused on the detention and deportation of illegal alien criminals who broke our nation's immigration laws. And the Supreme Court upheld the Trump administration's right to stop individuals in Los Angeles to briefly question them regarding their legal status because the law allows this, and this has been the practice of the federal government for decades. And the Immigration and Nationality Act states that immigration officers can briefly stop an individual to question them about their immigration status if the officer has reasonable suspicion that the individual is illegally present in the United States. And reasonable suspicion is not just based on race, it's based on a totality of the circumstances to review. And I will tell you, I spoke to our border czar about this morning. When ICE goes out to conduct a targeted operation to deport illegal criminals from our community, they are doing so with intelligence, they are doing so with law enforcement sources, they are doing so in most cases with the backing of local law enforcement who know exactly where these illegal alien criminals and drug traffickers and drug dealers are hiding in plain sight in American communities. And the men and women of ICE are doing everything they can to not only follow the law, but to enforce the law. And it's about time that has happened because we had 4 years of an administration who completely ignored and evaded our nation's very clear immigration laws, and the Supreme Court has reaffirmed that.
So again, you heard it from her. A lot of what ICE and these guys are doing, you got to really trust the process where they are doing their due diligence before they go out and just willy-nilly round up people. They're trying their best. And of course, there are a couple of things that may slip by, and I've been following closely, even the South Korea thing. Some of these guys that are here temporarily on business visas, they were swept up in, among the raid. But for the most part, in its totality, you had illegal processes and protocols with the illegal usage of some of these visas. And so even in Korean media, they're not talking about, oh, this is crazy and unfair. US is such a bad this and that. They're like, okay, well, we're not admitting wrong in terms of how the visa was processed and being utilized for its intended purpose. But now they're negotiating, all these other deals of like, let's get these guys on a charter flight, bring them back home and all these other things. That's what the Korean media is talking about. They're not arguing the actual enforcement of these visas and the immigration itself and violating the law. And so you got to remember that what's happening in Europe and many other countries, minus certain countries, I think like Poland and many others, they are having a lockstep, closed gate country, hardlined law for keeping illegal immigrants out, and it's keeping that country clean. You're seeing the mess that is in terms of, again, I don't want to bring certain religions into it, but Islam and many other Middle Eastern country, people coming in and blaring loud sounds across the community and just wreaking havoc in some of these countries. You're seeing what open immigration is doing to some of those countries, and it's thankfully being reversed and stopped in America. And so you're going to see a lot of that. And so the White House also celebrating the Supreme Court victories so far that have helped the right-leaning or conservative or Trump basically backed agendas that have helped with progressing what we as many believers and conservatives have desired and wanted and prayed for in terms of, and it sounds extreme, but bringing down the modern day astropoles, the modern day statues of Baal, and making sure that God is able to use this next season for his glory. So again, it sounds very hateful in some sense. It sounds like, oh, you're such a bigoted this and that. But this is what has helped us as a nation in the U.S. to really make sure we're progressing correctly. And again, I've said this before, people have a cop-out for separation of church and state, but we should be praying for an integration so that Christians can go into politics, they can go into law, they can go into being judges, they can go into being legislative changers and judicial writers and enforcers to be able to make sure that godly values are being established. So these 21 victories, let's go over some of them. Nationwide injunctions, Washington, New Jersey, CASA, transgender military ban, third country removals, number 1, and number 2, ending federal DEI funding, Department of Education RIFs, multi-agency RIFs, Alien Enemies Act, HABIS, Abrigo Garcia, I forget what that one is, but terminating probationary employees, terminating high-ranking executive officials, revoking TPS for Venezuelan migrants, revoking parole status for CHNV migrants, Social Security data access, rejecting intrusive discovery, and on, terminating CPSC Commissioner NIH funding, immigration enforcement in Los Angeles. And so there's many more to come. There's a big mantle. There's a big calling on the Supreme Court, as well as other people currently in the judicial branch in that area. And so we've got to pray for them. We've got to make sure that godly values, that the angelic help, that what is being shown and projected in heaven and in godly courts has come and will come down into the earthly courts, especially here in the U.S. as well as across the world. And I believe our prayers are being answered. I believe that people are stepping up into their calling to make sure that they're doing their part to allow this to happen across the whole world. So praise the Lord. Just want to share this encouraging piece of news, as well as just many things that will be coming up. It is truly a golden age, and we're seeing it in evidence in action so far. So you guys know I'm doing a September series to make sure I'm posting consistently. And as part of that, I'm trying to call attention to my fundraiser so that we can meet our goal hopefully by the end of this month. And we have just a little bit left. I would love it if you guys would support me. The givesendgo.com is down below. This helps for me and my team for personal things, as well as all the legal stuff, just many things that require costs to have upkeep. And I really need that support, guys. More to come. Talk to you guys very soon.